Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a watercolor piece for you on this Uli Chroma Blend circular watercolor paper. And I bought this paper from Zulily. If you know me, you know I love Zulily. I buy stuff on there all the time, probably too much, like every day. Seriously, it's a bad habit. But anyway, I thought it was cool because it was round. It's 140 pounds, and yeah, I just wanted to try it out. So I am drawing my little subject, my doe here. And then I'm just going in with my watercolors with some variations of brown just to get some fur detail on this little lady. This is how I like to do my watercolors. I'm not a watercolor artist, but I really love them. And a couple of the other ones that I've done, I don't, if you guys have seen like my owl and my otter, I really like how those came out. So what I did was I just went over them just like I am doing here with some brown just to get like some detail on it. And then I just went around and splashed like color kind of around and over the subject. So I really like how that turned out. So that's what I'm kind of going for here. I took this reference photo in Zion National Park and in the middle of the forest. So the background's all green with leaves and stuff. So I wanted to do a variation of greens. That was what I started with. So these are the Stampin' Up! Pigment sprinkles, and they're basically like these Brusho crystals here. So I'm kind of going to combine two of them together and just see where it goes. I really have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just messing around because like I said, I'm not a watercolor artist. So I'm just kind of seeing how it's going to go. So right here, I'm just wetting my paper first, and it's tinted a little bit green because I practiced on another paper, and so my water is dirty and that's why it's a little bit green. But it's going to be green, so I don't care as much. Otherwise, if I was doing this on a new piece or something, I would obviously have clean water. So I'm just going to go around my subject a little bit with some water, and then I'm going to sprinkle the stuff and just see what happens. Also, I have slowed down the video in real time just so you guys can really see exactly what I'm doing. And it's important when you're doing new art or when you're practicing to just experiment. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was scared because I did so much work on the little doe and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I completely mess it up? You know, it is scary, but it's not the end of the world. I don't have to share this. If it turned out totally disastrous, I don't have to show it to anybody. I don't have to post it. It's not a big deal. So just experiment. So I have right here, this is Stampin' Up's Stampin' Spritzer, I think that's what it's called. And so it's filled with water, and I just sprinkled some of those crystals on there, and now I'm spraying it with water just so they kind of spread out a little bit. And you can see that the Stampin' Up sprinkles are really pigmented, and a little goes a long way. So I'm just taking my brush now, just tapping around just so it disperses a little bit more. And when I did this, it really bled. It bled into like over the dough and stuff, which I wasn't too happy about because it kind of did a lot. It wasn't just a little bit. So I didn't like that. But it is what it is. So like I said, you just have to move on. So I'm just continuing to kind of knock this around a little bit, get it to look a little bit how I want. And then I'm going to take the other Brusho crystals and put them on the outer edge because they're a little bit darker. It's a little bit darker color. And these Brusho ones, they have like, it's not just one color. They have different specks in there. So you'll get a variation. So like there's some blue in there with the green. So that's kind of cool too. They're definitely different. And so I'm just sprinkling a little bit of those, and this hole is a little bit smaller so it doesn't come out as fast as the Stampin' Up! Ones. And I'm just going to spray this again till it kind of bleeds into the other color. And you got to be patient a little bit. I do not have any patience, by the way. That's why I don't think I'm very good at watercolors, because you do have to be patient. So I'm going to take my brush again and just kind of spread it out just a little bit more. And I should have added a little bit more water on the paper first before I put those Brusho colors down, because they're not spreading as good as they normally do. So if the paper was still wet, it would have been better. So I went ahead and got some water, and now I'm just tapping it again to get it to spread out a little bit more. And it's hard to see on the camera, but you can see like the blue specks, the variation. There's like a little bit of orange in there too. So it's really cool. Also, there's different ways that you could use these Brusho sprinkles. You can add them in like a little dish or something and then add the water and make like your paint mixture that way and then go on your paper rather than just sprinkling them on the paper, because as you saw with the Stampin' Up! Ones, they kind of come out like a lot. And you know, so that's like more control, or you can use them more like regular watercolors. But I do like the effects that they give when you use them on the background like that. Now you can see how much it really bled over my deer there, so it was really wet, and I didn't like that. So now I'm taking my brush that has been dipped in water, and I'm just trying to put some water droplets around the paper as well as over the background, just to create some different effects. And like I said, I'm just kind of experimenting because this whole edge is going to get covered up. I wasn't sure at first if I wanted the whole thing to be covered or just keep it how it was with just a little hint of color in the background there. So yeah, I'm just kind of playing around just to see. And now I'm taking a wet brush and going over the edge there where it bled over, just to try to lift up some of that paint. It didn't work too well because I'm pretty sure by the time I noticed it was already kind of dry. So yeah. And right there I just wiped it all around. So yeah, didn't really help. So then I'm just going to take my paper towel and just blot it a little bit to lift some of it up, because like I said, it was very, very wet. So I'm just blotting it up. So I went ahead and took a blow dryer to it just to make sure that it was completely dry before I move on with my next layer. So now I decided that I'm going to cover the entire thing. So I'm wetting the area on the edge and close to what I've already done so that I can add additional colors. And you can see I still haven't cleaned my water because I am painting green on there. But like I said, doesn't matter for this piece. So I'm just going to continue all the way around with the water. Just cover up all that area that I did not paint on previously. And then I'm taking the darker color from the Brusho crystals, and I'm just lightly tapping that around. And then I decided that I wanted some additional colors in there. So I'm taking the Brusho like blue, and I'm just going to put it around the edge because I want the edges to be really dark, kind of like a vignette. So I'm adding some of that in as well. And I'm going to take my spritzer there, and I'm just going to spritz around so that those crystals break up and really spread around. And then I'm adding a little bit more of the green because that hole is a little bit smaller, so I kind of shook out a little bit more. And then I'm taking my brush and I'm just going to brush it around, make sure that it covers the whole edge. So this part I am going to speed up for you just a little bit, but I'm basically just getting my water and tapping it around just to move that color around. And you saw I put a little bit more crystals down where I thought it needed some more blue or some more green. So I am just tapping all the way. And then right here I am taking some splatters. So basically my brush is wet, or I'm trying to anyway. My brush is wet and I have some paint on it, and I'm just going to go splatter it around because I love splatters. And I might do this with a couple different colors. So I'm just going to splatter it around, and then I'll touch the canvas here and there just to make some different kind of strokes. And here I am now just kind of deepening the outer edge with blue and kind of mixing it with that green to make a darker green. And I think at this point I had dried the paper again with a hair dryer just to get that layer completely dry before I moved on to this part. And so I'm just going to keep working on this. I am crisping up some of the edges around the deer now and just adding in some deeper blues and stuff, just trying to deepen up the contrast and that vignette that I want to get. And now I'm just blotting again because it does get pretty wet. And I'm going to take some of that Stampin' Up! Crystals now, and just to give a little bit more of that brighter green again that I covered up. And taking my sprayer and just spraying that to spread it out. And that's just going to bring in that really bright green again that I like. And you can just see that what that extra layer does. It just adds so much more dimension, and I don't know, that's why layers are so important when you're painting. They just add so much, and you'll see as this continues on how much it really comes to life. And just once I add the different colors, because at first I wanted to keep it like this, but I just found that it was too flat. It really needed some extra colors, some deeper colors, just more greens, and then I ended up adding pinks and some yellows and stuff, and you'll see that at the end. I went ahead and dried this again with the blow dryer, and now I am really deepening up the edges again with, I'm kind of mixing some blue and like a dark green together, and I'm really just going around the edge, deepening it up, and just getting that contrast and that vignette. And I'm just tapping here. I'm just tapping all around the edge because I don't want it to be such a crisp line. I want it to be organic and just look like it's like bleeding together. So I wet my brush there, and I'm just pouncing now some water around the edges just so that they bleed out just a little bit into each other. And I'm just going to continue this on the other side as well. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video here. So I'm just going to keep working around that whole edge, and you can see how much better it's looking already. It's really drawing your eye into the deer, even though that deer is still kind of covered up right now because it bled into the green, but I will fix that later. And I'm just going to take my paintbrush again with water and some blues and different greens and just splatter my paper all over. And I don't care if my splatters get on the deer because I kind of like that, so that doesn't bother me. So yeah, so I'm just going to do some different splatters and just get some different variations of greens and blues in there. After every layer that dries too, it kind of lightens up again. So that's why I keep going in with the blues and just trying to darken it up a little bit more. So I went in with the brushes again to just try to deepen up that color around the edge. And now I am going over my deer again, just trying to bring in those details back in that were covered up by the green. And then once again, I dried the entire thing with my hair dryer, and I am going back in yet again to further darken up that background. And the reason for that is I really want the viewer's eye to go straight to the middle. So when you have a vignette like that, that really helps draw it in. There's light in the center and it's dark around the edge, so your eye is really going to be drawn to the face of that deer. And now I am going back in the deer with some darks, just trying to further up that contrast and really try to make her stand out from the background, because the background is quite dark, and now she's quite dark, and because it bled into her so much, I need to really bring that fur texture back in. Now that it is dry again, I've had time to look at it, and it's missing something. It's really dark. Now I need something to kind of brighten it up. So I'm going in with just some yellow, just hoping that it's going to brighten up some of those greens and just give it some more variation. So I'm just going in a few spots with some yellow just to help brighten it up just a little bit. So now I'm going back over with some darker splatters of the dark bluish green, and then I am going to go on top of that with some white splatters. So that's going to help too with the variation of lights and darks. And now, since a lot of the deer has been covered up, I will go through with the white paint, and I'm using the Winsor & Newton gouache white gouache paint to do the highlights on here, and I'm just going to add in some of those light areas just to bring that contrast and try to make the deer stand out a little bit more. When I had started this piece, I did leave a lot of the highlights there, but as I said, it bled in so much, the crystals, that it pretty much covered it up. So if I were to paint this again next time, I would definitely use a mask and just mask out those light areas and the little like fur of the deer. And I just think that would have made such a difference with that, and nothing would have been covered up, because it was kind of a pain to go back through with this white paint, and it just doesn't look, I think, the same as it would if I were to have used a mask and really kept those highlights like natural to the paper. And again, here I am adding some more white splatters on there. So now after that has dried, I'm going back in with some plain water, putting that on certain areas of the paper, and then I'm going to go back in with a yellow, the Stampin' Up! Sprinkles with yellow, because they're really pigmented and I really want to bring that variation in. I want to bring a lighter color and a different color, because when I started out I thought I was going to want this whole background just green, but now it just looks plain and it looks just still flat to me. I just think I need more colors in it. So I'm just going to take that and take my spritzer and spritz the yellow, and you can just see how pigmented it is, and it's even showing up over that kind of dark background. So I do really love these sprinkles for that. And there I go again, just adding some more yellow just around different spots. And you can see it's already starting to look better because it just needs more color. It's too much green. Even though I added the blue in there, it just wasn't enough. It needed something else. Plus, by me spraying this over the background, it's going to create some variation that way too with just water. You don't need to add a color. If you just wanted to, if you added color and then you just wanted to spray it, you would get some really cool effects with it. So now I have started to add some pink in here because, again, I just think it needs more, and even some purple. So now I'm trying to get some color. Maybe it looks like flowers in the background. I don't know. But it just needed something. So now I'm just adding some different purples and pinks around as well. And I'm doing the same thing as before. I'm just wetting the paper, sprinkling some of the sprinkles, spritzing it, and then using my brush to kind of help spread it out a little bit. And I'm using water when I do that. I'm wetting my brush and just kind of dabbing the water on there and just helping it. It's going to do what it wants to do, but it's just helping it to spread out a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and just speed up this process because I'm basically just doing the same thing. I'm just adding water around and putting the different colors. So I'll just speed this up here so we could get through it quickly, but you could just see the process that I'm doing. And this purple though, I really love this purple. I think added a lot. I went ahead and did this around like the edge because I just thought it was so pretty, and it just so deep and dark. I mean, those Stampin' Up! Sprinkles, they really are amazing. The color, the amount of color that they put out is just ridiculous. So anyway, so I just put that around a little bit more, and it just looks so much better now. Now it's starting to look a lot better to me. It's not so ugly. So now that I'm happy with the background, I still think it needs something. The deer still just isn't popping to me. And honestly, what I'm about to do right now, I don't know if it helps or not. But I thought maybe it can have some little flowers around its neck. So I'm wetting an area there, and I'm just going to add some of the color and just go right over her neck. I didn't know if I was going to do this like on her head or on her neck. But I wanted to do it with the sprinkles, so I don't know, experimenting, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna see how it goes. So there I go, putting the pink and then purple, and then I'm gonna go pink on the other side. And I really have to blot this up because it is so much color. It's so crazy. Look at when I touch it with the water, like just how much it spreads. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I really do like these things. I mean, obviously I need to practice with them more, but they are fun to use and you get some really cool effects. And I think what's cool about it is that you can't really control them, and that's so hard for me because if you see my regular stuff, you know that it's very detailed and I'm not good at loosening up and stuff. So I do like doing these watercolors because they help me to loosen up a little bit. And yeah, so now I am just going back over again, adding in some of those darks, doing a little bit of glazing here and there with some of that blue color around the edge and stuff, and in the shadows a little bit. And then at the end, I didn't record it, but I went ahead with my white gel pen and I really added in those highlights, and I added some flowers and some butterflies because I still thought it needed more. But once I did that, then I was happy with it and it felt complete to me. And yeah, so that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the parts that were in real time. And yeah, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.